it seems to be though everybody's Thanksgiving go to is planes, trains, and automobiles.
I watched it last night.
Trying to remember
What was that?
planes, trains, and automobiles. It's from the
I've
80s.
never
Steve
even heard
Martin,
of it.
John Candy.
It's really good, but it's really the only.
saying that, Joe. We know you haven't heard of all this. Just pipe up when you have heard of something, because that'll be
Wow.
a lot less in the. It's
What a
I don't I
jerk.
could not tell you if you'd like it or not. It's been a long time since I watched it. It is about Thanksgiving and getting home, and it's Steve Martin and John Candy. It's probably John Candy at his second best. Uncle Buck's probably his best, but Phil showed it to his mom tonight, and she loved it. First time she'd ever seen it.
It's really the only Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah, I guess so. Reverend Geek, a guy that person on TikTok, I think that's his go-to every Thanksgiving is to watch it. You watched it last night, so give Joe a synopsis before we get this show rolling.
Salesman on the road, bad things happen, and how do we get home?
Flights get canceled and this kind of thing. And this is the 80s, right? No cell phones, really.
No cell phones. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong. And Steve Martin and John Candy. So
it's a buddy travel film, but they're not the best of friends.
Nope.
That makes it funny.
And it has some heart in it, but it doesn't. You don't really. It's not really made aware until the end.
Okay.
But it's good. It's a good buddy movie.
Yeah, it's that formula, but it works. Remember Spies Like Us, Kurt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although I was more of a Stripes guy.
Yep. Yeah. See, I watched all those growing up at different times in life. I didn't always get, when I say at different times in life, I didn't always get to see them when they came out, but maybe later when it's still somewhat relevant and poignant, and I could watch it on my own. Joe, I watched a lot of stuff I wasn't allowed to watch. You watched a lot of stuff you shouldn't have been allowed to watch.
That is very true.
So for planes, trains, and automobiles, it really is family friendly, except Steve Martin has a potty mouth, particularly in the last third of the movie, where he drops about 1,000 F-bombs. But really, that's really the only thing.
So when you talk Steve Martin, you're not talking about raunchy comedy, except for language sometimes. I mean, depending on the movie, right? Father of the Bride, I don't think there's any language in that. I think it's PG-13 film.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve Martin's, his only dirtiness was his mouth. He never did, sexy, raunchy, violent, nude.
He would never have been in Porky's.
Yeah, no. So, Joe, Porky's is this great coming of age film.
I've heard of Porky's.
You should show it in your Sunday school morning class. You'll learn so much.
From my knowledge of Porky's, that's a big no.
Yeah, that's a big no.
That's a big H no.
That's a you gotta let go of that, like let go of the minion. Let's start the show.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by two hilarious dads who bring their unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these two dads have got you covered.
Shut up, Mike.
They're also obsessed with all things nerdy, from comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, this is Wise and Nerdy. And now let's have some fun.
Woo!
Don't tell me what to do, Mike.
It is Thanksgiving Day in the United States. And I am grateful that I finally, after all these years, have some people who are as dedicated to their craft as I am. And we said, screw our families.
Charles, how many Thanksgiving podcasts have we done together?
Me and you, probably more than me and anybody else. I don't know, to be honest. Hey, I love our tags today. Mine's ban the cran because I hate cranberry sauce. Get that crap out of here. Kurt is tryptophan daddy. But I'm curious, Joe, why are you the lowest ranked daddy?
Oh, no.
So I asked my 4-year-old today, hey, how much do you love me? he said 1. I was like, okay. Well, how much do you love mommy? 100. And then I was like, okay. Well, how much do you like your brothers? And for both of them, it was 2. And I was like, okay. Well, how much do you love Nana? 2. How much do you love Papa? 2. And then
so why are you a 1? What have you done,
I'm a
Joe?
1.
What have you done to this child to offend him?
So, and this all came up because we said, hey, who do you want sitting next to you at dinner tonight? He's like, mommy. And he was like, because I love her more. I was like, oh, okay.
And you slowly reach over, take his plate away. Like, good for you, because daddy puts food on the table. And you don't get none of this, kiddo.
Well, and then it was okay. So you do love me though, right, buddy? He's like, yeah, I love you a little bit, but I love mommy more.
That's why you tell him
like, okay.
Move on, man.
So
you start whipping out dollar bills. How much do you love me now?
So Kirk goes the opposite direction. I go into punishment. Kirk goes into bribery. His way probably works better.
Everyone else was a 2 except me and my wife, and I was a 1, and she was a 100. I was like, okay.
That's, you know what though, you got to teach him golf scores. Golf scores you want. So
that's right. He was ranking me number 1. It wasn't.
There you go. There you go.
It's the question of the week.
And as I hear that hot gravy voice coming in, I realize the intro. We need a new intro for the beginning of the year. Written, the music's great and all, but we need, because it's not just 2 hilarious dads, it's 3. And we're looking to have some guests starting in the new year. So we need to kind of come up with some new wording and figure that out together and work that out. But that's not the question of the week. The question of the week, because blowing up my TikTok today, is the Macy's Day Parade and all the stupidity and tragedy that's happening there. So the question is to everybody, do you even care about the Macy's Day Parade?
Nope. End of story.
Right?
I do. However, I do because of what it used to be.
So nostalgia for you.
It is, but like I like watching the musical acts. I like to see, like, I make no bones about it. I'm a Broadway fan, so I like to see the new shows and a show that and a song from their shows and whatnot. However, it used to be. This is going to be the grumpy old dad rant.
Come on, get on the porch.
So it used to be, to get a balloon in the Macy's parade, your character had to show longevity and had to have been around long enough to be recognized as a pop culture icon by the general public, not by whoever pays for the balloon.
Okay.
So this year there was. Oh, did you see the movie commercials for that new movie Migration?
No.
Yeah, brought to you by the people who do Minions. It's about geese and their migration.
Ducks or something like that. Yeah,
ducks, whatever.
They end up in New York.
Yeah,
hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet. They have a balloon in the Macy's parade.
I see what you're saying.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid had a deflated arm, so that was fun. But Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
It wasn't his father, okay?
But Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I can almost make an argument because it's been around for a long time.
It is iconic to our children.
The cheese touch. You know, that's why his arm was deflated. He must have had the cheese touch.
Goku had a balloon.
That's okay with me.
Possible. Yeah, it might be all right.
I mean, Goku, that's been around since the 90s.
But is it known to the general public? Maybe at this point. Maybe. If between video games and
9,000, they go, oh, that's what that's from. Sure.
Maybe. So there's that. And then the worst part, though, are the talking heads. The people.
Oh, my God!
That are casting it.
Yeah. The people who are narrating the parade, and we need to hear from. Now we need to hear from Beyonce recording a Thanksgiving greeting from her home. And Joe Biden calling in and saying, hey, I'm thankful that America is the greatest country on earth. And I'm like going, can we just watch the parade? Let's just watch the parade. How about that?
So it's changed into you would you say it's changed into just commercialism, propaganda?
Oh, yes. Commercialism. There was a Jolly Green Giant float today.
Who remembers him? I mean, I remember him because I've been called the Jolly Green Giant. I'm like, freaking life.
It gets better. And the people surrounding the Jolly...
Wait. How's he a Jolly Green Giant? All you ever saw was his foot. Is that what the float is? It's just his foot?
Oh, no. You've seen the whole body of the Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah.
And it's a Jolly Green Giant sitting on a float, like a giant Jolly Green Giant sitting on a float, going by, while people dance around and sing about corn.
It's corn.
They incorporated that. They incorporated that and made a pop song out of it.
Oh my god,
man.
so stupid. So
you know what? I should rephrase. There is a single parade that's Macy's Day, although it's not Macy's Day at the same time, that I do care about. The one in Miracle on 34th Street. That's it. The only one.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah.
Which version of that, Joe? There's been like 4 movies.
There has. I like the one with the actress that played Matilda.
Yeah, that's like the 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, that's gonna be 80s, 70s. The original, with the black and white, it was solid.
Yep.
It was good.
Yep.
I honestly have not seen any other ones. Not because I don't want to, just I didn't really find it. I don't try to hunt down Christmas films and watch them, but we were watching stuff with our kids, and my wife's like, "Hey, let's watch this one." I'm like, sure. And first time I saw it was like last year, I think 2 years ago, maybe. Really good movie though. It holds up. So I can imagine, Kurt, that with the original holding that well, that the remakes are probably pretty good and comparative to it. Now,
I'm not a big fan of them from the ones I've seen. So the original had so much heart and innocence in it, and this one they just don't pull. Well, this one, all the remakes that I've seen just don't pull it off. They don't pull off that.
Time. That was at a time where it's like you were enemies. If you were Macy's, you did not send somebody to Nordstrom's. And the point of the movie was, hey, we're gonna give customer service. That's the heart of the movie, rather. Here's the customer. Oh, we don't have that, but we know that Nordstrom's down the street. And they're like, what are you doing? And people are like, oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna come back here and shop here. I loved that message in it. All that being said, Macy's Day Parade for me as a kid, growing up with no internet, no cable TV, right? We had 3 to 5 channels to pick from, depending on when you were born and how things came through. That was the thing. While your mom was in the kitchen cooking and you weren't allowed to do crap, you can't go outside because it's, don't get dirty. Family's coming over. Don't get in mom's way. She's preparing the whole meal for the family. What else you gonna do? We sat down and watched them. And it's one of those things where you don't have that hardly anymore, but you knew a lot of people in America are sitting down at the same time watching this live parade and seeing what's happening. And that's it for me. It was like, okay, it was just kept me out of trouble. I know some people like it. I'm not trying to take that away from you, but here's what I saw from a production standpoint on TikTok today. One Piece had a float in there, Kurt, and the wind. And this is not the first year that the wind's been horrible, and you heard about things happening to the floats, bad, breaking people's arms, hurting people because things go crazy. A tree ripped its hat and it started to deflate, and somebody yelled, "Emotional damage!" It's so good. I was like, oh my god, the money! These things are so expensive. The money that and there was nothing you can do. You can't control it. The wind's blowing,
right?
And I don't know, there's 100 people holding it down, and his hat just went right to the tree. The tree just ripped it open. Then there was a nutcracker that was, let's say the people are an average between 5 and 6 feet. And it was like coming down on top of them, and they are at the rope's length in front of it, dragging it down the street because the wind is just whipping this thing, and they're getting jerked around. I don't know what this lady was thinking. She was an official, right? She had the vest on and everything. She went running at the nutcracker as it blew in, and WWE John Cena at her, but bam, and she got laid out. And I'm thinking, when are we going to stop this parade? The money is ridiculous. People are getting hurt, and minions are going bye-bye. Not they're getting banned from the parade. I don't know what happened, because here's my last little rant before we move on. I hate street photographers. I hate them because the second anything happens, where's my phone? Here's what happens. The second anything happens, you're watching, oh, and they drop the phone and you do not see what happened. So I got to see the rest of the story in photos where rope snapped, people let go. The minion's gone. Like, he went up beyond the buildings, and I don't know where he is in space right now. It is gone.
Bye.
So, yeah, I'm like, how many? Somebody Google how much it costs to build a float for, or not a float. What are those called? Because floats are what you ride on the ground.
Balloons?
Yeah, I think maybe balloons. But yeah, the helium balloons and I mean, we've heard of Spider-Man smashing into buildings. We've heard of Charlie Brown deflating and falling up. And it causes panic, and everybody runs and gets hurt. And why are we even doing it anymore? Between what you're saying, Kurt, and what I'm seeing, I don't know.
We're looking at close to $750,000 per
that
balloon.
is now in the stratosphere somewhere.
Maybe, hopefully.
Maybe.
I hope a satellite picks it up.
Yeah.
Hope it comes down in England.
Yeah. And then what happens? Sure, I'm sure some government agency or multiple government agencies are tracking it right now just to make sure it doesn't come. What if it comes down over like a nuclear stack pipe and blocks the vent? I don't know. What if it comes down to traffic in Bangkok? What, Joe?
This is what China has to do next time. They just have to make a balloon and say that it got away, and then it'll fly over the country, and people will be like, "It's just the Macy's Day balloon.
It's just the minion.
It's not a Chinese spy balloon, people."
Roll that dice.
Actually, don't roll that dice, because we have a speak pipe, sir. My bad. I jumped on the button, but you can get after this. You can get ready to roll that dice. But we do have a speak pipe tonight for our Thanksgiving holiday special, and named it the PAY, the Pay Raids, because I'd love for y'all to go to patreon.com tonight as a good thank you to all of us here at Wise and Nerdy. But here is our speak pipe.
My wife is constantly bringing home games from thrift shops and such. And I don't even think the game was called, but one of the questions was asked of my daughter, what is the part that moves on a Ouija board? And I wouldn't even know what that's called, but I think it's called a planchette or something like that. Anyway, and so I lean over to my son and I say, "Hey, Josh, you know that little circle glass on the top? You know what that's called?" He's like, "What?" And I said, "That's the devil's anus." He lost it. My daughter lost it. I lost. I mean, I just made it up on the fly. My wife just sat there and glared at me. That's not funny.
It is.
It was pretty darn funny.
It's pretty darn funny.
It's funny.
That's funny. All right, Joe.
What do you love?
That's nerding out. No.
This has been changed a couple of times.
Hit the button again. It'll give us some clues.
It's the "Can you dig it?"
What do you love?
There we go. At least the kid gets it right. The two adults, they can't even keep up. Which it's not even called "Can you dig it?" Is it the "How do I" section? We've got to redo everything, Joe.
It's the "What do you think about?"
Okay. What do you think about? So we had a watch along. Loved the whole idea of it, but I thought we'd talk about our movie and the "What do you think about" Batman Mask of the Phantasm, as the three of us and Civilian on Base joined in. Watched this the other night through Discord. First off, let's talk about the experience. For those of you who weren't there, but you've listened to Joe and I work together for years. Kurt, you and I have worked together for years. I'm always the pretty one, and I'm always the idea guy. Everybody else is the tech people. Yeah, I always get blamed for the show not working. So we show up at showtime to come together and do this. And the question on Joe's mouth is, have you tested this? Like, Joe, it's been 7 years. You know the answer to this question. And sure enough, while he's berating me for 30 seconds, because Joe's kind, he's not going to berate and make fun of somebody for very long. He fixes it and solves it. I'm like, what? Why is this even a conversation? But I thought the experience of watching that with you guys on our computers at our homes was fantastic.
It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of fun. And some of the comments made the movie that much better, or sound effects, or the comments that couldn't be made, but the faces. Which we actually figured out what was going on with Kurt, why he couldn't talk.
Yeah.
It's because of Discord. Apparently, if you have echo cancellation turned on when you're focusing on someone who's streaming, it will mute you. And so it's just like, yeah. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Kurt, I did not know there were buttons you could hit on Discord to make quack. The first time a duck sound happened, like, what is going on? Where'd that come from? They did, and then it's showing like a little sticker float up the screen with a cricket and those kind of things. But then, of course, he couldn't talk, and that just cracked me up even more. That was so funny. But the experience was a lot of fun. So the movie itself, Joe, you had not seen it. I had not seen it. I think Kurt's been a while, but you had seen it.
Yep.
So Joe, we'll go to you. What do you think about Batman Mask of the Phantasm?
I liked it. It was a little bit different take on the origin story of a couple of characters, Batman and someone else. Yeah, Joker. Yep. And so and it had some
Batman and somebody else. There's only like 4 characters in the whole movie.
I know.
You know that bad guy with the white face paint? What's his name?
Oh, you're talking about
I think it's Iron Man. What you're talking about there?
And it had. Is that character Andy? Is she in anything else, or was she just made for that movie?
Kurt, you're the comic book expert.
Yeah, so the Phantasm was made for that movie.
Okay, yeah, and so I had never seen that love interest before at all, and so yeah, it was very good. It was refreshing, and it was. I mean, anytime you see Kevin Conroy, yeah. Whenever he's the voice of Bruce / Batman, you know it's going to be good. So
well, and that was in the Batman the Animated Series era. I mean, it was made during that time, so he was the only animated Batman at the time.
At the time, yeah. I had not
and
seen
still
it,
is the best one.
Knowing, arguably, knowing though that this was made in that era, and this, I made a few assumptions. One, I thought this was in the, at the time, current Batman timeline. So we're going along, and that's actually where we found out you could talk. So we're going along, and there's this and this, that, and the thing is, the Batman the Animated Series absolutely leaned into a lot of noir type things while staying mid 90s, early 90s, whenever it was drawn and produced on TV. Right. So there were aspects of 1940s and 50s kind of nods or things about it that were not actually set. So I'm thinking this is set in the 90s and we're going along and some things fit. And then there's this flashback. And here's the first note I made. Early on, it leaned into the 1950s shtick. Feels like it's pulling from the 40s and 50s when it's Bruce in the flashback. You know, I'm like, I'm confused. I finally went, because they don't look that young in the flashback, right? I'm like, how old are they? This is Kurt's answer. Yep. He tried to talk and he couldn't talk, but I had no clue that this was. I finally Googled it after I saw the photo of the gangsters and they were all the Rat Pack. Basically, is that Rat Pack photo from Vegas? Yeah, it's actually in the 40s, and that was okay. It was not bad, but it definitely threw me off for half the film, not realizing this is actually set in the 40s and not just a nod to some noir.
Right. Well, so because I think, you know, what they tried to maintain back then was the fact that, when Bruce's parents got killed, they were going to see The Mask of Zorro in the theaters, which was an early black and white movie. And
until you get to Antonio Banderas, then it's a late 90s movie too.
Sort of. So the other thing is this movie was supposed to be kind of a Batman Year One movie, which is why he didn't in the beginning of the movie they showed him without the costume, right? And so
that was a good origin story the way they did it here.
Yeah, it was really supposed to be a nod to the Batman Year One comic series, which they didn't lean into the noir aspect of it, but Batman the Animated Series, particularly the first couple of seasons, leaned heavy into the noir, and including the soundtrack for Mask of the Phantasm was amazing. It was just so well done. And so they leaned heavy into that vibe, and I dig it. I dig it a lot. The kind of there's a weird combo of retro vehicle design combined with futuristic aspects as well. And it's just a really cool vibe.
I think it's you, Joe, one of you guys, when they did the whole almost like World's Fair. They still do the car shows now where it's the cars of the future, the prototypes, but it's more World's Fair-esque. I think it used to be where normal people who lived in the city could walk through and see the cars of tomorrow. When we went, oh, there's the Batmobile. But it was the Batmobile from the 90s. It was basically that brick on wheels that he drove in the animated series. That's also what threw me off.
Yeah.
Even when the Joker sent the little helicopters with the big bombs, I'm like, that's not totally out of character for the 90s Joker. I thought it was okay. I think most of my time was spent trying to figure out when the heck this was set. It just kept glaring because there was like Grease, the movie musical Grease level guys on motorcycles with chains, trying to do something. And then there'd be something a little more modern, but it was never quite 90s. It was interesting, but here's the thing that did throw me off too. Well, one, I made a note. Batman is more of a butt face than an anti-hero. I didn't write butt face, but I'll say that on the show. He was very much a jerk. I mean, he was very demanding and this and that, and he was a little mean to the love interest, just unnecessarily. It's like, that's not even the BTAS Batman that I remember. But the one thing I had to Google this one, I didn't think that was Mark Hamill as Joker. There was very little Hamill energy in that Joker, but it was actually Mark Hamill.
Right, but he did have a different vibe than what we got than what we got used to. I have a feeling that if you went back and watched the first few seasons of Batman the Animated Series, he was probably more like that.
Maybe so. But
because he's that character has definitely evolved, and now Mark Hamill doing the Joker is iconic, right? I mean, and so I'm with you because literally when he was going through stuff, I'm going, this sounds a little off, but maybe it's just because it's also Joker Year One, maybe that kind of thing. It did sound really off to me.
And Joe, you loved it, and I'm not trying to not like it, but there was just something. I guess my expectations were different. It just felt like a rocky road to me there. But I thought the origin of the Joker would have been better had I seen it coming. It just kind of felt like, oh, let's slip this in and draw some makeup on this picture. And, oh my God, that's him.
Well, what they were shooting for though is not to be a Joker story.
To make it about Batman and the Phantasm.
Yeah. And really Batman Year One. I mean, they really wanted to lean into that and make Joker not the central character in the story because there's plenty of those other stories.
And Ra's al Ghul really is a central character in one, and they didn't bring him in here. But I don't know if they'd introduced him in the TV show at the time either. I know he came in later.
Yeah, pretty later.
But Joe, so I've said the thing that threw me off, but you seem to really enjoy it. So talk about that.
I liked it enough that the very next day I watched it again with my kids.
And what did they think?
They liked it. They liked it a lot. Although my 4-year-old was like, that was a little bit too scary, is what he said at night, which
all right,
is fine. But they liked it quite a bit. So it was very good.
And that's when you tell them, if you think that's scary, wait till you see what's under your bed. Good night, kid.
Yeah.
Oh man.
If you think that's scary, just wait till you see what's under your bed. That's our time for tonight. Have a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Joe, do you ever come and I think you do. Do you ever come and sit when we do the Irish and Celtic music for the end of
Every year?
So you know the song about
we were sitting right next to each other this year.
I have to go in and out, so I never know quite who makes it
Yeah.
during that time. I have to do a lot of director stuff.
The one that he sings almost every year about the monster under the bed.
Good night. I love that song so much. So then I enjoyed what we did. At the end, we tested out different services, and it'll work for us. There's zero we're not trying to rebroadcast this other than to have a fun time to sit together as friends and enjoy this thing. And if you're part of our Discord, and we actually put out a temporary membership for that one night for people to come and watch with us. Nobody did. I mean, Civilian's already part of our group. I mean, outside of our group, nobody came. But I'd like to make it a bigger thing. So it just so happens that the very next day or two on TikTok got announced DC is doing a new Crisis on Infinite Earths, and an animated one. Actually, I don't know if they ever did an animated before, but I read the books. But I like, immediately I texted it to both of you guys. 3-parter. What do you guys think about that? It's 2024. We're ways off, but what do you guys think about that coming?
I'm looking forward to it.
It looks better than most of the live action stuff that's come out of there.
Yeah,
out of DC in the last 10 years.
The new Flash movie pulled from Crisis as well.
Yeah, the new Flash was more Flashpoint, but it all, DC leans hard into the multiverse stuff, and Crisis is one of those iconic type storylines. But the 3-parter, I'm hopeful. Like I said, I think I told you, Charles, I'm not a big fan of that art style that they've chosen, but look, I'm a sucker for alternate reality stories and time travel stories. So I'm in.
And if they bring in, I cannot remember his name, but there was a B or even C level character that was pivotal to the whole thing. He did this insane laughing thing. I don't remember, but he was not funny, but he was a bad guy. He kind of helped set. He just was this little pawn that nobody noticed that ended up triggering a lot of the major events and ended up being one of the ones that remembered everything at the end and drove him crazy.
Is that Psycho Man?
Yes, something like that. Yeah, that character. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but yeah.
Or Psycho Pirate?
I think that's it. I think it's Psycho Pirate is the name of him. And I remember him just being pivotal. If you paid attention to readings, like, you see these little things moving.
Yeah, Psycho Pirate.
No retelling of that story has ever included him. So I'm hoping that this one will. I also hope this is a straight to Max kind of thing and not in the theaters, because I would like to watch it for the first time with all of you guys when we can set that down and then talk about it. That would be a blast. Then the other inspiration I got before we move on, and I put it here, and somebody actually put in a note too. What movies should all dads watch? We're the Council of Dads, right? We're wise and nerdy. We're talking from a father standpoint. We're geeking out. So I thought over time, us and our audience can start pitching up movies for us to watch together each month. Of all dads should probably watch this and then talk about it. It doesn't always have to be a dad movie, right? Well, DC and whatever.
Right.
And somebody what's this Forever Strong one? Who put that in?
I put that in.
Okay. So tell us about it.
Forever Strong is a rugby movie. Before the show, we were talking about underdog stories, right?
Yes.
And so it's a story about a kid who his life's going wrong. He's drinking and driving, and he crashes, and he gets sent to basically juvie. And the juvie,
like you do.
Yeah, like you do. And he was a rugby player, and just so happens that one of the counselors at the juvenile detention facility, he was really good friends with another rugby
coach. Doing the synopsis, tell us why we should watch it as dads and why we should pick it for next month.
So the reason why I think it is good for dads specifically is there is a great juxtaposition of father figures, both bad father figures and good father figures in the movie. And so I think that makes it a good movie for dads to watch in general. So,
all right. I'm down for that being our next month's film.
Sure.
We'll watch that together.
Yeah.
And and some of these we'll have to figure out because there's one that came to mind. That's one of the new Ryan Reynolds films that I really think should be
The Adam Project.
Yes. Yes, but there's a lot of language in that one, so I was worried about you, Joe.
I like that movie quite a bit.
I like it quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I think that should be good. So cool, because I would like for us to put it on one of our months to watch together. So yeah, I think that kind of thing is here's why I think it should be a dad film, and let's watch. And or it can be just like the DC ones, like, hey, we're just going to think this is cool. Let's just watch this because it's cool because we're not just dads, we're nerdy dads, and we can do that. I don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we'll have to. We should definitely talk about the criteria about that.
Yeah, we'll have to develop some criteria on there, but because I know, I mean, who doesn't like to go? This is a film that I really that Joe just did. I mean, instantly had a movie like, oh, this one's here, and this is why I think it's for us together and as dads. Who doesn't like to do that? Who don't go? Oh, I'm going on. December 3rd, I'm back on Wait You Haven't Seen with TV's Travis, and we're gonna watch The Nines with Ryan Reynolds. And I'd picked out 3 Ryan Reynolds films I hadn't seen, 2 of them being basically indie films. And I think I saw The Nines, but it's been a long time ago. I was looking for it, but I think that's the one I saw. But I was like, dude, if it's the one I'm thinking of, we need to watch this. And so I love doing that. I love going, this means something to me. Let me share it. And that's what I wanted to open the door here. So cool. Forever Strong will be the December film that we can watch. Now, I'm going to be a Kurt instead of hitting roll that dice.
Donate to your daddy. Patreon.com/wise in nerdy.
It's the Thanksgiving Day pay raids, baby. Go pay us over at Patreon. Now you're supposed to hit roll that dice or something.
Patreon.com/wise and nerdy.
Let daddy decide.
All right. This is the how do I, right?
Correct.
All right. I tried to make this basically holiday themed today, right? So you watch movies with your family on the holiday. The opening question was the Macy's Day Parade. How do we individually survive the family during the holidays? Because as much as you love your family, I'm sure there's something that you might stress out about or not look forward to. So what are your tips and tricks to survive the holidays?
The first thing that I think of is generally you know your family pretty well. You know their idiosyncrasies and you know what's going to end up getting on your nerves. Do your best just to anticipate it and let it roll off. I mean, what else are you going to do? Because at the end of the day, they're still family. Kurt's just smirking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's because I've got some opinion.
Joe. You're so innocent. I love you,
No. Here's the thing. Joe has the perspective of a younger dad.
Okay.
To my mind.
Sure.
Charles, how do you manage?
Okay, so I have family that's my immediate family is there's members of my wife's family. So today being Thanksgiving, I have a fire pit and I stake my place at the fire pit and I make it clear that you say dumb crap around me, I'm gonna say some stuff right back to you. So if you don't want that, there's other places you can go sit. And that's
a little red.
Yeah. And I have a whole case of beer to myself, basically. And so I eat a lot of great food, smoke a cigar, and drink some beer. And only the people who like to have a good time come and sit with me. And then tomorrow, I'm going to see my family, and I basically just bring work. Because my kids go do the family stuff, and I just sit up at a table, and I just lose myself in the laptop. And my dad comes talk to me, I'll talk to him. My mom comes talk to me, I'll talk to her. Me and my sister don't really talk. So it's just avoidance, if you will. Just like, I brought you the kids because that's really what you want, and we're good.
Yeah. So I have learned over the years that I don't need to put up with any of that crap. And so the reason I said that Joe, you have the perspective of a younger family or a younger dad, is because when I was your age and a little younger, I would do all of that. And honestly, like even having to go to visit family and let the comments roll off and whatever, and deal with the inane questions that they ask every year, and you give them the same answers, yet they don't pay attention to anything you say year to year. All of that. I hate it. Now, and granted, my kids are grown. All right.
Right.
So now when my wife says, "Hey, my mom wants to know if we're coming over for Christmas Day to have dinner over there," I say, "No."
I love it. I love it so much.
And here's the reason. I said, if we want to go have dinner with your mom and we want to go there on a weekend or whatever, cool. Thanksgiving and Christmas are mine.
Okay.
So I'm going to stay home. And if people want to come visit, I got no problem with that. But those are my holidays. I'm staying home.
I got you.
And so this morning, my daughter and my son-in-law and my granddaughter came over for breakfast. They had breakfast, stayed a couple hours, and took off because they're young parents and they have to go visit the in-laws and do the rounds.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to do that.
Okay, let's be truthful. You never have to do that.
Agreed. No. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. But the perspective is. The perspective is that you feel like you need to for the kids or to make mom happy or whatever.
Exactly.
And
now,
I've gotten to that point where I go, no.
Fair enough. And I dig it, and I'm kind of in between. I want to bring it back to Joe, because that was the thing, Joe, when I was younger. And I don't mean by age. I kind of gauge things as the age of my kids. So when I was younger, we're either pre-kids, so early married, or young kids. And when we're early married, we're like, cool. She had traditions, whatever, blah blah. And we did stuff, and I had to just basically keep my mouth shut. It was what I was told. That did not sit well with me because people were saying stupid stuff around me all the time. But I became the guy's like, okay. I buried myself in work. I was getting paid, no kidding, with overtime and holiday pay and everything else to stay at home and be in my own home working $50 an hour. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to Thanksgiving because we need the money, baby. And we need the money. And those guys, it worked well. And she preferred me not to go. And there was many years I didn't go to family functions because they didn't really want me there. I didn't want to be there. It was happier for everybody. Now, the compromise is we have a decent home. My wife loves to host, and everybody comes to our house. Now that the patriarch of the family has passed away, and the matriarch of the family, both of them have passed. So it's not this demand of time because, my God, we get there at 4 o'clock because they'd say be here at 4 on Christmas Day, and we get there at 4, and one of the uncles wouldn't get there till 6 or 7 because he was you, Kurt. He understood the value of his time and said, no. I know we're not even going to start eating until 6. I'm not going to show. And we'd be there before it'd be midnight and tell my wife, hey, we got to go. We've been here 8 hours. And it would not be good enough for the grandparents. They're like, are you leaving? And we're like, yes, it's midnight. I want to get away.
So the secret to that, though, is that if they're going to be annoyed at you anyway for leaving early, then just let them be annoyed at you for not showing up.
You're right, Kurt. And that was the other thing. At some point, the family shifted from we all buy gifts for everybody, blah, 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 to let's draw gifts. And it came at a time when I was like, you know what? I am so tired. And this plays into all of it. I am so tired. I'm just being truthful here. I was like, my whole heart is I want to give you a gift because I want to give it to you. And it doesn't have to be Christmas, if I see something. I mean, Joe, I killed Joe. He fell over.
Yeah, well, it's because you froze and you had no idea.
Okay. On the podcast, it's clear as Christmas.
Your stream went like this.
Well, for you guys, the podcast are for you guys. I'm tired of buying presents for people I don't like. I want to put my heart into a present. And about that time, the family shifted to let's draw names. So we opted out, which offended some people. We're like, I don't care. Plus, we argued with the size of family that we had to buy for. We were spending $1,000 in Christmas presents and getting roughly $1,000 in Christmas presents back. And some of it's good, some of what, you know how that goes, right? And like, why are we wouldn't spend $1,000 on ourselves right now. Why are we doing this? So we slowly but surely did kind of got to where Kurt was saying, is like, let's put in some barriers for ourselves. And I'll tell you this trick, and I'm coming right back into you, Joe, where you're talking about, the idiosyncrasies and you let it slide off. I made it clear the first time we hosted many years ago happened to be when Trump was first running for president. And it's a huge hot topic. I printed paper signs and put them in obvious places. I said, you cannot talk politics in this house. You can go outside in the yard, which is a beautiful day. It wasn't like nastiness. I know I froze again, whatever. But it's not nastiness. It's a beautiful day. But you can go outside and talk politics, but not in here. And that really set a tone that we don't do that in the families anymore. It used to be a thing. It used to kind of start to fight. And everybody went, that year was just nicer. And it's like, look, you want to host it somewhere else and we can do whatever. But if you're coming here in my house, there's only these rules. And if it gets to be somebody talking about something I don't want, to your point, Joe, I go out in my front yard. It's nice and got chairs and tables set up. I can go out in my backyard where the fire pit is. And so I just started walking away. And that's at my parents' house. That's at anybody's house now. Everybody stopped questioning it. Nobody even goes, where's Charles anymore? They just know I just didn't give a crap. They'd rather me walk away than break them open like a shotgun, because I'm really good at that, at breaking down. Although I did tell this joke, and I'll throw it to you, Joe. We can move on. So it was right after President Obama got elected, and there were some real liberal people starting some crap, and I didn't care, but I thought it was a funny joke. It's like, oh, there you go. There's another black family living on government assistance. And she got so mad, and everybody else in the family loved the joke. And that was it. I was good. I get to walk away now. They prefer that.
Makes me think of a story I heard recently about a comedian who said something that people got offended about. And he said, look, if you were offended, I have this link for you. And the link took him to a helmet they could buy. But I mean,
you don't get mad. You don't have that one family member that brings the kids who always scream and you're like, oh my God, get out of here. Or that one person who's trying to be controlling butt face.
The only family that lives close by is my wife's parents. So really it's not a big thing. It's my immediate family and my in-laws, and that's it.
You, your wife, kids, and then the mom and dad in-law.
Yeah, just the seven of us. Occasionally they'll invite someone from church to join us, like someone that just moved in or something like that. But yeah, it's normally just us and maybe one or two other people, or maybe just a small family that just moved in, and we're like, hey, why don't you don't have to worry about Thanksgiving, just come bring a side if you want to, and we'll handle the rest. And so yeah,
it makes my wife happy. Does your wife like to host, Joe?
No, but my mother-in-law, she doesn't necessarily like to host, but she's got a good setup for hosting. So we go to her place. Plus, she has a double oven, and so that is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that might be worth going for.
now you got Kurt's attention.
Well, because I do all the cooking. Well, actually, my son helped this year, but I do a lot of the cooking. And if we had a double oven, that would have made life a lot easier today.
Yeah. Well, and at one point on the podcast, I had talked about we were looking at pre-made meals that we could buy.
Yeah.
And so we didn't end up doing that, primarily because the one we were looking at was Publix, and they couldn't tell us what was actually going to be in it because they outsourced it. And so we were like, no, thanks. We don't need you being the middleman and not knowing what's going to be in our food.
Yeah.
And so, so we ended up doing it all ourselves like we normally do, it was fine. Plus, my mother-in-law makes amazing dessert. I mean, she's a good cook in general, but she is the dessert queen.
Is she better than your wife?
Most of my wife's recipes come from my mother-in-law.
That's not what I asked, Joe. Kelsey's listening. She wants to know. Our fans want to know, Joe.
My wife makes fantastic desserts, and actually, our next door neighbor, several times when we've brought over some desserts for them, he says that girl can bake. Yeah, she makes real, especially my favorite is her chocolate chip cookies. My wife's chocolate chip cookies are fantastic. So
roll that dice. Bad dad jokes.
Charles's face.
I thought the turkey gets a reprieve on Thanksgiving. How come I don't?
Because you don't. All right, this is the last one from your son, from the heir apparent.
All right.
What is the loudest pet? A trumpet.
Wonka wonka.
No. Don't even soil the name of Fozzie Bear with that one.
Well, we did have a Batman one.
Kurt wants to tell it so bad.
Wait, I think I've got it.
I'm pretty sure you do.
I've got it. What do you call it when Batman skips church? Christian Bale.
That was funny. You got me on that one. That was not a bad dad joke. That was a good. I did not see the punchline coming. That was a good one. All right.
Roll that dice.
Time for a commercial break.
Oh,
it's Charles's favorite time.
Let's just. I'm not even gonna try. Let's see this. No, that's too slow. Let's see this.
Patreon.com/wiseandnerdy.
Call your daddy and leave a voicemail. wiseandnerdy.com/call-dad.
Yeah, be like your brother, Devakate, and leave us a voicemail. Kurt, hit it. Ow. I don't know what. What is going on?
So, hey, how was the weather where you guys were for Turkey Day?
It's 58 degrees. Nice time to sit around the fire pit all day. Sunny.
Huh. That's weird because up here it was a bit foul.
That is uncalled for, sir. That. Oh. All right, Joe. You roll them bat dice.
What are you nerding out about now?
Oh, finally something that's not bad dad jokes. So I got pissed off at Dennis, and let me tell you why. Our good friend Dennis. I'm wearing his jersey underneath my hoodie tonight. It's a Lycan Solomon's Odyssey comic book jersey. And he says that he's a big fan of Godzilla.
Yeah.
And so he's a liar, because I found out about this TV show about 2 months ago coming out called Monarch.
Yeah.
Legacy of Monsters. And as soon as I heard Monarch, I was like, oh. And sure enough, I mean, the previews are fantastic. There's Godzilla. It's all about Monarch and how the history of it, right? It's got John Goodman. It's got all these faces in it. And it's going to be jumping back and forth through time to show how Monarch got started. And supposedly they started to help protect the monsters, and then it turned into what we know of it in the Godzilla world now, of chasing the monsters to protect the earth type of deal. It's a thing. And it looks very interesting. So I sent him the TikTok. I texted it to him, right? And he's like, huh. I'm like, are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? Huh? Well, I'm at a conference. I was like, I will drive up there and throttle you. So all that being said, Dennis is not a good friend. However, I watched the first episode last night, and let me tell you something. Everything that was in the previews that looked so cool, 90% of that was in the first episode, which makes me very excited to not know what's coming next. Right, because we saw in the previews you get blips of things. 90% of it they handle. The episode felt so long in a good way because I kept going. Okay, they're about to get the cliffhanger. Oh, they didn't. We're going on. Oh, they're about to give the cliffhanger. Oh, they didn't. That moment hit for me like 3 times watching this episode, and then it finally did hit the cliffhanger, and it was like, what? You get to see my G boy. Early on, you get to see a proper. It's a great CGI. Everything is so smooth. You get to see early monsters. You get to see John Goodman almost get killed by some early monsters. It's great. You get to see some. It starts in, I'll say 1943 or 53. It jumps up to 2013, which is right before what they call G-Day in the movie in that cinematic universe now, where Godzilla comes. I think it's set before Godzilla versus King Kong.
Is it set in the same? Is it actually set in the same universe as that?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
100%. So it's jumping back to show some stuff, and then it jumped up, and then it jumped back to a different time. Then it jumped up to 2015, and everything. They're in Tokyo, I think it is, and you see Godzilla symbols, like Godzilla shelter symbols, and missile silos, and they refer to it as G-Day for when Godzilla came up. And there's a great line, I'm going to spoil it for you because it's not pivotal, but there's a great thing where one of the characters who was in San Francisco during the attack, I was in Tokyo, wherever it is, in this car, and the guy was like, oh, she said she saw things going on. And she said, oh, everybody finds a way to profit on somebody's tragedy. He goes, less tragedy, more profit. He goes, what do you mean? He's like, oh, it was all faked. It was CGI. I have a podcast. It's like, oh my God. That's the joke nowadays. I have a podcast for conspiracy theorists and whatnot. But it's a great line. I as a huge Godzilla fan, I've got my Godzilla medal, got my Kong medal over here too. I love first episode. I'm in. I mean, I do love those kind of things where you got to track the story and find the ties that run through it and figure out what's connected. The only scene that was in the previews that has not happened yet was Russell Escape from New York. Kurt Russell is supposed to be, I'm assuming, I think I know which character from the young version we get. I think I know which character we're going to get from him in this, but it definitely is tying directly from scenes from the movie, referencing the movie, moments after that. It is based off of the Godzilla film before it was Godzilla versus King Kong, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I do know that yes, it is in the universe, and they tied, and I predicted something like, yeah, they're not going to do this, and they did something with the school bus. I was like, oh, so it's not light and fluffy. But it's not super dark. Right? It's if you like Godzilla, jump in.
I really enjoyed I enjoyed this latest iteration of Godzilla, and enjoyed the Kong movie and then the tie-in and everything. So I like the world that they're building, as long as it's that same world. So yeah.
And I think it's gonna, I didn't really care for Andor, but Andor was kind of connective tissue, but a whole different side of the world of Star Wars that you didn't see, right?
Yeah.
The whole spy thing, I think it's gonna be more like that, where it's some science, some intrigue, some craziness. We're seeing the past of how we don't know crap about Monarch, right?
Yeah,
not
right.
really. Other than we know they kind of chase the monsters and they have super smart people and those kind of things. But yeah, some direct characters from the films already in this episode. It's on Apple TV. If you have that, check it out. Otherwise, if you're outside the U.S., congratulations, because you can probably watch it on Netflix or somewhere else. Because in the U.S., it's so hard. Everything is so siloed. But once you get outside the U.S., they usually go, yeah, you can show wherever you want. All right.
Yeah, that's true.
The one from Max. Is that you, Joe? The Princess Mononoke?
Mononoke? Yeah, Princess Mononoke is a good one. Have you never heard of Princess Mononoke?
I know it's the Studio Ghibli.
It
I've
is a
not
Studio Ghibli.
seen it, but I'm aware. I've seen
Yeah.
very little Studio Ghibli.
So my wife had never seen Princess Mononoke either, and being one of the classic Studio Ghibli films, I was like, yeah, we should watch that, because I saw that it was on Max. And yeah, it's very good. I will say, even though I find it to be very good, I kind of wonder if to most people it doesn't live up to the hype, because I find that a lot of people like to hype it up without talking about some of the faults in it. Because some of the story, especially the main character, he can get a little bit annoying at times. Mostly because he's a little bit wishy-washy in his. Well, I guess his main commitment really is just he doesn't want to see anybody die, which is fine. But when there's a war going on, you kind of should pick a side, and he doesn't. So, which I guess in a way is refreshing as well, because you don't really see that often where someone just wants to stay out of the conflict basically altogether while not staying out of the conflict. He wants the conflict to end. And so it's good. So it's set in feudal Japan. It's got demons, and it's really the start of some industrial revolution. Guns are fairly new to the world and whatnot. And it's got some interesting lore around it, where basically animals used to be way more intelligent. They used to have almost human-like intelligence in the lore here. And the destruction of nature is what is the precipice for animals becoming quote-unquote dumb beasts. But there were some interesting parallels that I found in Princess Mononoke to other content. Like, for instance, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the finale of book 1, season 1. You can definitely see some inspiration that came from Princess Mononoke. Like, I haven't actually gone out and confirmed that they admitted that it. But the visuals,
you feel it, you see it,
yeah. And so it is iconic for a reason, and it doesn't surprise me that they took inspiration from it, and that's my assumption, they took inspiration from it. So, have
you seen that, Kurt?
I have seen a grand total of 0 Studio Ghibli movies. I know they're supposed to be great. I just, in fact, I was talking with my son about them today because there's a new one coming out, and yeah, I haven't gotten to it.
Well, there's not really any crazy over the top Inosuke type people or Zenitsu type people.
So I'm out. Kurt's in. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's funny because my son and I were talking about this at dinner tonight, and so
Princess Mononoke?
No, Ghibli in general.
Oh, okay.
So because I've had this little nagging voice in the back of my head that just says, just watch the movies, just go through them, just watch all the Ghibli movies.
Well, now you have an assignment, Kurt. No,
right after Demon Slayer.
No. You can do 2 things at once, baby.
No, I can't.
You work 8-hour days at your desk. One screen can be Demon Slayer, the other one can be Princess Mononoke. Okay.
If only 8 hours.
Well, and he's still working on My Hero Academia.
Right. and One Piece, the live action.
Yeah, because of you, I tried it. It's not grabbing me. I understand why you like it. I don't not like it, but I was just like, I don't know. It's for me.
We got to get Charles to try My Hero Academia. I think he would like it.
Maybe he might.
I saw the weirdos that were put up there, and I want to say,
I put in Discord.
I got something planned for our after show for the patrons tonight. So I from our stuff there. Studio Ghibli, it looks fantastic. I've heard great things about it, but I think even back in the early 2000s, I want to say I even rented Castle in the Clouds.
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't think you would care for that one.
Yeah, well, I think I rented it and
It's
watched it.
Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
That one maybe. Every time I try, or maybe I didn't go rent it, but I saw the movie posters. Like I should watch that for some reason. It tells my brain says it, and then everything else about it goes. I just don't know, man.
See, I don't know if you would care for a lot of Studio Ghibli, to be completely honest.
It's
Charles.
kind of like, and I mean this in the best possible way. It's kind of like Japan's version of Lisa Frank to me.
I don't
Does
know.
anybody get that reference?
But Kurt,
I do,
Google
and
it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I mean, I get the reference.
Not
but
Anne
I'm
Frank, Lisa Frank.
Yeah, no, yeah. So
Google it, Joe.
Oh God.
I don't know.
So Joe, don't Google Lisa Frank.
It's just the goofy pastels. I don't know. It just feels like
Lisa Frank did all these like stickers and notebooks and stuff for tweeners between like 11 and 13, and it was
I've seen these stickers and stuff
Yeah.
before, but I don't get the connection.
That's why I had a problem.
That's my brain, man. It connects the colorful tweeny stickers to the pastel bright colors of Ghibli. I don't know. It's just I don't know. So you liked it. What kind of person that you think would like it? What's obviously you don't think I would like it, but
Well, I think you would like Princess Mononoke. Let me clarify. I think you would like Princess Mononoke. I don't think you would like a lot of the other Studio Ghibli stuff. Simply because a lot of the other ones, it's not these big Michael Bay action explosion stuff going on.
I do watch other stuff besides Michael
you
Bay.
don't.
Yes, I watched Nope and Get Out. I watched that. I watched I watched a lot of Bollywood. I did just watch Next Goal Scores. I watched that. That's a smart film. Michael Bay. There's no explosions. 0 explosions in that film. Meet Joe Black. Love that film. All 10 hours of it. It feels like.
I think he's making your point for you, Joe.
So stupid. What are you nerding out about, Kurt?
So okay, there's 2 things that's taking my attention right now. I'm still working my way through Demon Slayer, and so I am.
Where are we at?
So I am in the entertainment district still.
Okay.
And episode 10.
All right. So they're not quite into the big battles yet.
Well,
the big battles last a long time.
There's a lot of big. Yeah. So they're still fighting.
Are we underground? Or are we above ground?
We're above ground.
Okay, so you're in the second act of the fight. Got it.
Because it's I can't remember the demon's name, but Wormbelt's big brother.
Yeah, you're definitely in the second act of the fight.
Yeah.
Well, so because episode 10 of the entertainment arc, there's only 11 episodes in that arc.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there were like 15 or 16.
So I'm about halfway through that one, and
so you're that'd make it the third act.
Well, if there's only 11 episodes, then yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And
so dramatic, so hard.
It's I find I'm still kind of in awe at how creative they have been with the demons themselves. It's really surprising to me, because it's what so the big brother is Gyutaro, I think, and I can't remember his little sister's name, but the whole, and I don't care about spoilers, because if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it, then stop listening. But the whole we need to chop off both their heads at the same time thing is it's really creative, and they actually didn't take the path that a lot of Western animation would have done, which big fight, and then all of a sudden we happen to get the timing right, and kaboom, everything's done.
Let's go back to the Mugen Train.
Yeah.
The demon was the train.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Not a Western ending, was it, Kurt?
No. And that was the other thing that I found really refreshing, and the fact that we keep going back and revisiting with his I think his older brother or his younger brother and his dad.
Yeah.
So and I'm in. I mean, I dig it. And I will say in this episode in particular, Zenitsu is mostly sleeping. Which
for almost the entire arc,
I love that because he's such a badass. Like when he's sleeping, and
you have it. Okay, yeah, there's something cool coming. There's something.
Yeah. So that's cool. And we see finally a little Inosuke using his brains for a change.
And his heart.
By going, oh. Well, yeah, the heart thing too, a little bit, because he's going, I have to save them. Yeah.
Well, he throws himself in the line of fire at some point, basically, so that they can do so. But my favorite line is Inosuke's. And he tells Zenitsu, "It's like, you're way cooler when you're asleep."
The audience comment, got it.
Yeah.
But like Inosuke, his big thing is that his power is all instinctual.
Yeah.
It's just ingrained in his being. And that comes with being self-taught, just like Charles likes to harp on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's my boy. He's my boy. But yeah, Zenitsu's that whole flashback, I think it was in Mugen Train when he got the poison. And then you see why he is the way he is, about he just couldn't get passing. So the grandfather was like, well, if you're going to do one, you're going to master it. And that instinct kicks in.
Well, and it's kind of that Bruce Lee dichotomy about being more scared of the person who's done a single move 1,000 times rather than 1,000 moves one time, or whatever that saying is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I thought was really cool is Tanjiro's about to do the striking blow and all of a sudden can't breathe because he's used up all of his power, or however they're managing
his
that.
energy. It's
his energy. Like yeah.
I mean, this battle goes on. I mean,
Right.
they had been fighting for at least an hour, and they're getting. I mean, because he thought he won at least twice by this point. He thought he had it, and he did. Yeah.
Well, and the demon thought he had him. And then he started coughing up blood and just going, well, guess I ran out of breath.
All right, listeners, it's not that simple. Kurt's being a little heartless here.
Well, because just because he basically says the words like I can't breathe. So
he does get a little pat. I guess this is the end. I have lost all my breath. Get your fat butt over here.
And I like how he's trying. I'm pretty sure you're far enough along for this comment that Tanjiro is trying to combine multiple forms.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
They made a comment. I think it was season 1 where people who get the black blade have trouble sticking to one form.
Right.
And it is seen as a detriment. Whereas I think Tanjiro, it's going to be a huge strength.
Right.
Being able to incorporate multiple forms.
Right. Yeah.
And I have my own predictions on where that will end up, but I'll save it.
Yeah. And then he him talking her down after she demons out.
The sun's setting, big guy.
Yeah. Sun's getting real low.
Yeah, because doesn't he like sing a bedtime song that his mom used to sing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I will tell you, because I'm watching the dubbed version, not the sub, and I'm going, oh, this is a terrible translation. Like songs are just notoriously difficult. Like they should have actually just made up something that worked as music.
Or even just left the Japanese song.
Or that.
There's a lot of animes that will just leave, when it comes to songs, they'll just leave the Japanese.
They do it for the opening and the closing.
Yeah, and for this, that's all they needed to do. Like, they didn't need to give us words. It didn't matter. It had nothing to do with the words, frankly. It had everything to do with the feeling behind it. So, no, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. But yeah, episode 10, you're saying there's one more in the entertainment district?
Yeah, there's 11 episodes total for that arc.
And it's long. I mean, to me, it was very impactful emotionally. I don't get that invested in entertainment that much anymore, but I'm watching it with my daughter Zoe, who is 10, and we got through Mugen Train and it just punched us in the gut. I didn't get teary-eyed or anything, but it's like I felt it a little bit. I felt the things, and I felt those moments. And then we get into this, and I'm almost feeling exhausted with them watching. Like, how are they going to survive this? Because we know not everybody can always survive in this show. And I love shows like that because it keeps you guessing. Although I'd have a hard time thinking they could replace Tanjiro and Nosuke. Not Nosuke. They're going to replace Nosuke.
There was sister. Yeah, there was one point where I thought either Inosuke or Zenitsu were going to get killed, and I was like, wow, are they if they kill them? No, I know, but I'm just saying, if they kill them off, that's a really brave thing to do in a TV show, right? Because you don't normally see that, particularly with established characters. So
we'll see. But, all right, so I will bring it back around to Thanksgiving stories. I would like to know what your guys' Thanksgiving, besides just staying home, Kurt, pick a happy Thanksgiving tradition that you enjoy. And mine has been how happy my wife gets when she gets to host, and I get a lot of good food. And the last couple of years, my brother-in-law started doing smoked turkey legs because we love them from the Ren Fest and this and that and the other. And it's getting harder and harder to find them when you go out to anything anymore, like a fair or a festival or whatever. And so they started getting their own turkey legs and doing them, and they were great. We didn't do turkey legs this year, but he did the turkey the same exact way, and it was so good. Well, what about you, Kurt? What is a Thanksgiving tradition, food or otherwise, for you guys?
Well, I mean, so the Macy's thing was a thing, and honestly, Thanksgiving traditions have changed over the years. From when when I was in high school and when my kids were in school, one of the traditions was going to the local high school football game, because like when I was in high school, our team was always in the Turkey Bowl in the local town. So, so that ended up being a tradition, whether we wanted it to be or not. So things have changed over time. And so the latest one really has been, or the most consistent one lately has been the food thing, with me making breakfast. Now I make the whole dinner now, but breakfast for a long time has been my own thing. And the weird thing is, it's a tradition that was born out of my laziness. Well, because I do a crock pot breakfast casserole, and all I do is a layer of hash browns, a layer of breakfast meat, a layer of cheese, a layer of hash browns, breakfast meat, cheese in a giant crock pot until it fills up, and then add a dozen eggs. And then cook on low overnight for 8 hours, and in the morning,
souffle.
Yeah, and in the morning, when you wake up, it's done. So
that is lazy, but it actually sounds really tasty.
It is. And my son-in-law said, "Hey, are you going to have that casserole this year?"
Nice.
Yeah.
And honestly, is it as much about the casserole as it is about them coming and spending that time with you?
They just want the casserole.
Well, the casserole. I mean, I'm going to qualify, because the casserole I was doing before my daughter moved out. I mean, so it literally was just something that I was responsible for, which was kind of born out of the fact that in the past, my wife was always responsible for doing the turkey and everything.
Okay.
So that wasn't ever my thing until lately. So really, that was kind of my thing. So, but yeah, I mean, the food stuff just changes. Like last year, for example, I think we started a new tradition because it's so much better. And that is my son breaks down the turkey before we start cooking it. So we cook breasts and drumsticks and thighs and wings separately. And it is awesome because breasts cook faster than thighs and other dark meats. So you just pull them when they're done.
Now, do you smoke them? Do you grill them? How are you cooking them?
I did not smoke them because I don't want to mess with things too much, and I don't want to be responsible for screwing it up. But this year I did put some barbecue rub on it, for a different way to season it. And I'm going to tell you, the chicken breasts, which traditionally will dry out, might be the best I've ever had. Nice. And because we let them rest for the amount of time that we needed to, and I cut into it, and it was just as juicy as all get out. It was awesome.
Joe, what we found out is like he's scared to mess things up, yet he's a neat suit. He just slept on it, and boom, there it happened. It's instinctual. It's instinctual. Yep. It happened. What about you, lowest ranked daddy?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty vanilla when it comes to it. We have.
It didn't have to be food. It just what's your thing? What's your family thing?
Well, that's what we do. Like, that's like we don't have anything that's year over year tradition other than the main meal itself. And so we for the past 10 years we've just been going to my in-laws, and they generally provide the turkey and the desserts and salad, and my wife and I make the potato stuff, the yams, the potatoes, the green bean casserole, all that. And then of course we've got pumpkin pie. We usually have apple crumble, and yeah, it's good stuff.
I gotcha. My immediate family, the one I grew up with, my dad, my mom, I can't really tell you any kind of Thanksgiving anything other than video games. Right? It was like, I get up, I'm playing my video game. I get called in there at like 2:00 to come eat with the family, disappear back into my home, play. I play like 8 hours of video games when I was with them. But my wife's mother hosted, and we'd always go there. When she got sick and started to pass away, Sean is my brother-in-law and Erin's my wife. They teamed up to do a lot of the cooking together, and we hosted it at that house. And then as we moved into the neighborhood and got better areas, and now the house we're in, you've both seen it. We have like buffets built into the cabinets, and it's just that's just been the thing, is now everybody just migrates there. And I think even as we move forward and the kids get older, I think that's going to be the thing, is they're going to bring their families back here until somebody steps up to essentially claim the throne and host and bring people together. Do we need that might be the question of the week. Do we need traditions in our families? Because my
only
biggest
if they're
problem,
fun.
My biggest problem with the tradition is when it can't happen. How emotionally tied are you to it, and does it ruin things for you? So, Bixby, I'm not talking to you. Get off my phone,
Bixby.
So I'm gonna I'll throw that out as a question of, do we really need, are traditions good or bad? Are traditions good or bad? But I love that we all have this flow and we bring things together. And right now we're gonna fly off like the Minion. See you, everybody. That's the show. Except they don't have the song ready.
Patreon.com/wiseandnerdy.
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
Hey there, VO by Kurt.
I try to give you room to say it clearly.
Stupid Mike. Oh.
We're not done yet, Kurt.
I'm sorry.